Hey, Moneymakers, welcome back to another episode of Taking Stock Live. I'm your host, Kalilah Reynolds, and we're bringing you all the latest business news and telling you how it will affect you and your money. So did you hear Donald Trump's Liberation Day speech? What a name to call it indeed. My goodness. Ooh, after they downplay Black History Month now, Liberation Day, and it's all about tariffs. Ooh, okay, so a mandatory 10% tariff is being imposed on all imports into the United States, and that's going as high as 50% for China. And when combined with other tariffs, they're looking at 100%. So a lot of things going on, but how will it affect us here in the Caribbean? We're going to be talking about that tonight and a lot more. We're talking about the Barita bond a little bit later in the show as well, and we have our analysts standing by to give us their assessment of what is going on in the markets, both locally and internationally. So before we get into tonight's show, of course, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know what part of Jamaica or what part of the world you are tuning in from. I love to see that Taking Stock is worldwide. We're global. Yeah. So let us know where you're joining us from in the chat. Also, remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, share with a friend, let them know that Taking Stock is live right now on their YouTube channel. Before we get started, here's a look at what's coming up in tonight's show, followed by what's hot in business. And of course, come on, let's get this money. On this episode of Taking Stock, U.S. markets are shaking since Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. It's a mandatory 10% on all imports to the U.S., going as high as 50% on Chinese imports. Now China is retaliating. The Fed is worried about inflation. And in the Caribbean, we're watching with keen interest. It's the topic of our main discussion and the analysts. What moves should you be making now? We'll discuss.
But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Jamaicans have until July 1 to use the old cotton banknotes before they become demonetized. According to the Bank of Jamaica, on July 1, the old cotton banknotes will no longer be considered legal tender and cannot be used for transactions for goods and services. The government introduced new polymer banknotes in 2023. The BOJ said that it will continue to redeem the old cotton banknotes for face value indefinitely. Atlantic Hardware and Plumbing finished its first day of trading on Friday. The company listed on the junior market on April 4 after raising $500 million from its IPO. According to the JSC, the offer was 5% oversubscribed. The stock listed at $1 and closed the day down 8% at 92 cents. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica says Jamaica's economy declined by 0.8% in the final quarter of 2024. The Planning Institute of Jamaica had previously projected a 1.8% decline. The economy declined by a larger 3.5% from July to September. Both Statin and the PIOJ said the fall-off was mostly related to the damage caused by Hurricane Beryl in July and Tropical Storm Raphael in November. Statin added that the decline in the last quarter was largely driven by a fall in the goods-producing industries. However, this was offset by growth in the services industries. U.S. stock markets tumbled last week after U.S. President Donald Trump announced his Liberation Day tariffs. Trump signed an executive order mandating a minimum 10% tariff on all U.S. imports. Imports from 57 nations and entities will face higher tariffs ranging from 11% to 50%. Guyana was slapped with a 38% tariff, while several other Caribbean countries, including Jamaica, will have the 10% tariff imposed. The general tariffs took effect on April 5. Trump said that the foreign governments would have to pay a lot of money to lift sweeping tariffs. Meanwhile, the TikTok ban has been postponed by another 75 days after Donald Trump's latest tariffs derailed a potential deal. TikTok's parent company ByteDance had been given until January to sell the app or face a U.S. ban because of national security concerns. Trump had initially delayed the ban by 75 days when he took office. According to CNN, a deal was finalized on Wednesday, which would have transferred 80% of TikTok's U.S. operations to a U.S.-based company. ByteDance would have retained a 20% stake in the spin-off company. However, the deal fell apart after Trump announced an additional 34% tariff on China. Chinese officials said they were pulling out of the deal until negotiations were held regarding the tariffs. Will 2025 be the return of Jamaican stocks? It's been a rough couple of years, but like I've been saying, the time to start is when the market is low. Your objective as an investor, like any other type of trade, is to buy low and sell high. So now that stock prices are low, this is the perfect time to jump in. We already have several IPOs planned for 2025, so don't get left behind. Start your investment journey today by taking Investing for Beginners. Go to investingforbeginnersja.com. Let's get this money. Welcome back. Let's start out by shouting out our viewers from around the world. Let's see who we have. Shavane is checking in early from Sunshine City. We got Nicholas saying, good night, moneymakers. Let's make this money. And he's checking in from Dakana. Shavane is doubling down on all my stocks in my long-term portfolio. Can't let this kind of deal slip me by, he says. David says, tings, pon top of tings. Shavane again, deals, and a huge amount of steals on the market right now. Dwight says, well, Dwight is always here. David Gray looking in. We got Nicholas says, I need a fairy godmother to fat up my account balance so I can get some of these stocks that I've been eyeing. Wouldn't that be nice? Raquel is saying good night. Ryan said Trump are the boss. LOL. We got Tavares blessing up from Timbuktu. O'Shane says, get them Dems Trump. Get them Dems Trump. The diplomat says liberation was more like destruction day, checking in from ATL. We got Shireen patiently awaiting Barita in Portmore. Richard saying good night to the moneymakers. Travel chef joining from Wyoming. Humble boss is in the grill and says great vibes always. Thanks. And Nicholas says he was looking forward to hearing the Irish lady again. My voice is back, so we don't have to use the AI this week, but hopefully we can tweak it and make it a little bit better. Ezekiel is joining in Ochi. Learn, grow, invest as inflation should skyrocket. We're definitely keeping our eye on that and on those interest rates and what the Fed is about to do. We got Garfield saying high potential billionaires checking in from Portmore. Ramon is in Mobay. Sean, what happened to my mouse? My mouse just suddenly decided it doesn't want to move anymore. There we go. Unfreeze, freeze, unfreeze. Dave says, we are not Chinese. Sean says, the dip just keeps on dipping. A lot more comments there as well in the chat. Keep your comments coming. Let me introduce our guest for this evening. I already told you what our topic is. We got to talk about it. It's been all the news on all the stations and all the programs and all the platforms because it is so extensive and wide-ranging, and the impact is being felt globally. I was just before the show started watching a video of one of the leaders in Singapore making an address to his country's parliament about the impact of the Trump tariffs, because he was making the point that, well, Singapore actually does not have a trade imbalance. Well, they have a trade imbalance in the United States' favor, meaning that they import more from the United States than they export to the United States. And so he was making the point that in that case, if this is supposed to be reciprocal tariffs, then they should have zero tariffs for Singapore, zero additional tariffs, because there is no imbalance to the detriment of the US in that case. And that's the same for us here in Jamaica. We import way more from the United States than we export to them. So why did we get a 10% tariff as well? But we're going to be talking about it with our guest, chartered accountant Saint Billings. She's been on the show before, and she's going to break it all down for us. Welcome back, Saint. Great to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
And just to remind the viewers, Saint is originally from Haiti, so she's a Caribbean sister living in the United States now
Yes.
with that accounting degree. So, first things first, break down what Donald Trump announced in his Liberation Day package.
I know you mentioned how interesting the name. So never thought of it like that, but yes. One thing I'll say,
Especially with you being from Haiti, huh?
I know, right? I need that same hype in May for Haitian Flag Day. But in any case, one thing I'll say is that this is no news to anyone. Donald Trump campaigned on this. He said once he gets back in power, he will be implementing those tariffs. He made many notes of it. Originally, he said he wanted to have it on April 1st, but he didn't want the world to think that it's April Fool's. So he made sure to have it on April 2nd. So essentially, according to Donald Trump, the goal for this is to encourage U.S. manufacturing and essentially encourage more to be done in the U.S. and for countries to be paying as much to us as we are paying abroad to in order to do business with them. So that is the essential. I guess that's what he ran on, and that's the I guess that's the thought behind it. However, as you can see, there's been it's going to impact the people living here. It's not going to be just roses for people in the U.S. or people abroad, and it's causing a bit of I guess chaos. And we'll get into that. But essentially, one thing he said, everyone would start at least at 10%. That was the base that he mentioned, and it could go as high as we're not sure, but right now we know China is 54%, and we'll be talking about Guyana, which we're seeing was at 38%. So we'll be getting into that a bit.
Right. So it's supposed to be reciprocal. But then the thing is, as I was thinking about it, Saint, I understand the point. He wants to be protectionist, he wants to encourage local manufacturing, but it's not like American companies can open a manufacturing plant tomorrow. It's going to take them time to build those resources because in many cases they don't exist. Shouldn't
Mhm.
this have been phased in? Like give them 2, 3 years?
Yeah, that does sound good, but I think it's one of those things when you, as you can see in the first 100 days of Donald Trump, he's making a lot of changes from immigration. There's a lot of things, and some things are not really catching up at the same pace as is passing on those laws, and that's something we'll be discovering over time. However, I think one of the other things that he, I guess, campaigned on was to reduce taxes for U.S. citizens, right? And part of that is making sure he increase that source of income somewhere else, and ideally would be externally. So the goal is until we have, from my understanding, until we have those plants ready to go, these other countries will either pay up and in a way help us increase the U.S. economy until the U.S. plants are ready to go. So that is the I guess the thought process behind this.
Right. So, all right. So one of his goals, he said, or one of the things that he ran on his campaign is reducing taxes for U.S. citizens. But then, don't these tariffs have the opposite effect because they're going to drive up costs on parts on anything that is imported to the United States, and which in turn will drive up inflation. And that's something that we're all looking at closely.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the reasons he's considering a few tax breaks to somewhat try to make up for these gaps that people will be filling. I know recently there was an interview that he had, and he said sometimes you have to take the medicine. So he sees this as something temporary that the countries will abide and essentially eventually the market will level up, right, or be more leveled. So yes, those essentially we won't see it in taxable income, but as you mentioned, inflation will be impacted. There will be it it will be felt not just globally but also locally for those living in the US. So I agree
So
with you
how
there.
is the U.S. Federal Reserve reacting right now?
How, say it again, sorry.
The Fed. What has been the Fed's reaction?
Honestly, so it's mixed. We have some farmers, some people who are saying this is good. They're looking forward to more jobs being created. However, there is this fear in people. People are hesitant to, some people are hesitant to continue investing. This is a very scary time for them because this hasn't been done in decades. So this is not something that people are taking lightly, even though the Trump administration wants to downplay it to say it's not that bad. This is just temporary. But the reaction has not been as peaceful as I'm sure he wasn't expecting it to be peaceful. He was expecting this to be a bit chaotic at first, so I don't think this is taking him by shock. However, people are behaving more hesitantly to get into the market, or as you mentioned in some of the videos before going live, is when prices are low, this is a good time for people to buy. But even with prices going low, people are still being hesitant because they're not sure if they should be holding on to their finances for dear life.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of reactions, especially from the markets. I saw one report saying that the past week has been the largest stock market fall off since COVID. So that's pretty dramatic. Why do you think the markets, particularly, and investors have reacted so strongly? Like, what's the connection between tariffs and stock prices?
Well, one thing, there's tariffs. Those things are not just added to those companies don't eat up those fees, right? They pass it on to the people buying. So people are expecting for finances to be tight. They're expecting, and that we have job losses. There are a lot of things happening at the same time. People are losing their jobs. There are some layoffs happening, but also people are not. Cash is king. They don't want to let go of cash at a time where there's so much uncertainty. That's what I'm assuming.
So it's not that they've lost confidence in U.S. companies, because ideally this is being done to protect U.S. companies. It's just that they want cash right now because they're not certain about what's going to be happening in the future. And like you said, cash is king.
Cash is king. So people, even in debt, some people are holding back on paying off debt because they don't want to be in a position where they're homeless and there's nothing they can do while money's invested somewhere and they're not sure what's going to happen.
So let's talk about the impact here in the Caribbean. So in the introduction, I was mentioning that, okay, the tariffs are supposed to be reciprocal, but for most Caribbean countries, we import way more from the United States than we export to them. And then we have the case of Guyana that's being hit with this 38% tariff. Why is Guyana being targeted?
Yeah, so let's talk about it. So it in Trump's speech, it's noted that Guyana has some high rates that even in Guyana's side, they're saying it's not necessarily so. So there are some discrepancies there, but I don't think it's directly related to what Guyana has charged U.S. in the past. I think well, not just people are looking into this, and there are two possibilities that I think are interesting enough to mention. One, this could be a political move, in a sense where Guyana is increasingly becoming one of the key players in oil. And oil export. And Trump has been talking about the golden liquid, right? So this may be a political move as a reaction to this shift in economy for Guyana. And another possibility that's worth mentioning is that Guyana may be looking into diversifying its ties, and this is a way to signal stick closer to the U.S. or face consequences. So these are not directly being stated out loud, but we know that Guyana has some ties with China, and this may be in a way to discourage them and have them pay attention, and the fact that they're becoming an increasingly key player for in the oil.
A lot of Caribbean countries have ties with China, substantial ties, including here in Jamaica. One thing that I saw this week, some analysis of these reciprocal tariffs, and I keep putting them in quotation marks because are they really reciprocal? The breakdown I was seeing, I don't remember which journalist it was from or which media house this person was from, but they were saying that how Trump actually arrived at the tariffs, or how his team actually arrived at the tariffs, is by looking at the trade imbalance. So it actually wasn't based on what I tax your goods. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, Trump has been saying, you tax me, I'll tax you back. Whatever you tax me, I'll tax you back plus some. But
That's what he said.
the way
Mm-hmm.
that they actually arrived at the figures had nothing to do with what we tax you. It has to
Mm-hmm.
do with the trade imbalance, and then they divided it by two and added something or something to that effect. Is there
Yeah.
any truth to that? Like, how did they come up with the numbers?
So I don't know for sure, but I have heard this, and I think the number that, and this would make sense because from some of the numbers I've heard is that he mentioned that there's a 76% that Guyana has been, I guess, the imbalance for Guyana to the U.S. and the fact that is the rate that they're taxing Guyana is 38%. So there might be some truth to that, with, but I'd have to look into it more.
Mm. So, looking back at the stock markets there in the United States, we talked about investor confidence. We talked about what investors may be looking forward to. What are the opportunities that you see right now in the market?
Well, it's similar how you have it, and you've mentioned it a few times. This may be a good opportunity to buy low, right? Because prices are down, and some investors are banking on those moments. So people who have, I guess, excess cash. This is a time where they are jumping into the market and they are making leaps, because there's been times where the economy has crashed and billionaires have been made in that time, right? So there are people taking leaps and for or taking advantage of this as such, with the hope that this will not remain forever, and that we're gonna see the other side soon.
I saw a report probably yesterday that Warren Buffett is the only billionaire in the top 10 who has made money this year, who's in
Yeah,
the positive. And when you look at the other billionaires in that top 10, they're all entrepreneurs. So their businesses, the value of their businesses have declined, which means their net worth has declined.
yeah,
Warren Buffett is the only investor amongst that pile. And
yeah.
he sold off a bunch of stock in, I think it was in January.
Technology, yeah. But the thing with Warren Buffett, he's so I guess diversified, right? And he invests. He's very much focused on what are people, what is it that people can't be without, and those are the things that he invests in. So those are things that it's recession proof a lot of times, that no matter what, if people have the funds, they will find it. If they don't immediately have it, they'll run their credit cards to purchase those things, because those are things that they need to use anyway. Versus when I looked at, I heard this report, we consider the tech giants, they're heavily invested in that particular business. So I think that may play a role to Warren Buffett being the only one that somewhat came out on top for this.
And finally, Saint, what can we here in the Caribbean expect? Does this even impact us at all?
Yes, in a way, because one, it's going to reduce the Caribbean. They're not the main players in that. They're just, regardless of tariffs, they're going to be exporting at the same rate. So exports will lower, and that will impact the people living there, right? Because that's less money coming back to the country. So I'm expecting some negotiations to be done, but I don't know if they'll be negotiating at the same rate as Canada or France or whatever, or those other countries. So it will be felt, and my hope is that we're able to get to a place where this blows out and certain reconsiderations are being done, because I know the negotiations are on the way. But I trust that it will be felt, because we can't play at the same pace as some of those other countries, and with a higher tariff, it will make it harder for us to get some of the pie.
Question coming from Taylor, who wants to know, is it a great time to invest in precious metals like silver and gold?
I'd say, I guess I'd say so, yeah. Because these things don't go away, and we know that we know that it's been proven over time that these are somewhat recession-proof investments. So I definitely say yeah.
And keep in mind, this is not investment advice. This is intended as
Yes.
for educational purposes only. Standard disclaimer. Thank you so much, Saint. It's always a pleasure to have you and your insights.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
And I see a bunch of comments in the chat. We're going to get to some of those comments in just a few. But first, it is time for your poll question this evening. What do you think of the United States imposing tariffs on several Caribbean countries, including Jamaica? Here are your options. A, put tariffs back on them. So you tax me, I tax you. B, I expected it. C, I don't care. D, other, leave a comment. What do you think about the United States imposing tariffs on several Caribbean countries, including Jamaica? A, put tariffs back on them. B, I expected it. C, I don't care. D, other. Let us know by taking that poll over on the community tab of the YouTube channel or on X or in the email tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe at getmoneynews.com, or you can leave a comment in the chat and let us know what do you think about the U.S. imposing tariffs on several Caribbean countries, including Jamaica. Now, before we go to market recap, we have some information to share with you this evening. You may have heard about the Barita bond that is open right now. They've launched a massive new bond offer. And so we have a lot to hear about from the company about this bond. It's 7 tranches. So they are giving you options. When they say, I got options, Barita is coming with the options. So here to tell us more is Senior Vice President of Investment Banking at Barita, Therese Kettle. Hi, Therese. Ooh, I think we have a little feedback coming from you. Can you say hi for us again? I am hearing you, but there is some feedback. We got some feedback. All right, so what we're going to do is we will go to market recap, and then we'll come back with Barita, and then you can try to sort out that feedback issue in the meantime. All right?
Market Recap is brought to you by MyMoneyJA, the official data partner of Money Media.
Get 10% off your MyMoneyJA subscription using the code MONEYMISSION. The JSE Combined Index lost 1,600 points last week, less than 0.5%. 127 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, April 4, 2025. 35 made gains, 77 lost value, and 15 stayed the same. 261 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $1.8 billion. TransJam was the week's most traded stock, with 97 million shares changing hands. It started the week down 5%. Wigton traded the second most shares. The stock opened Monday down 3%. And Regency Petroleum rounded out last week's most traded. Now let's see who had the biggest gains of the week. Jetcon was the JSE's top stock, up 14% to open the week at $1.18. Palace had the second biggest gain, up 13%, and Berger Paints rounded out the top stocks, up 12%. On the losing side now, JPS 7% was the week's biggest loser. The stock lost 25% to start the new week at $34.36. First Rock Real Estate Investments USD fell 21%, and CAC 2000 lost 20% to close out the week at $2. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index was mostly flat last week. NCBFG was the TTSE's most traded stock. It opened Monday at $2.34 TT. Unilever Caribbean was the market's top gainer, up 6% to start the week at $11.66 TT. And One Caribbean Media was the TTSE's biggest loser. It fell 8% to open Monday at $2.73 TT. Over in the U.S., Trump's Liberation Day tariffs triggered a rough week on the markets. The Dow Jones fell 7%, while the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq lost about 8% each. At the pumps, the cost of 87 gas climbed $3.06, while 90 lost 7 cents last week. On the other hand, regular diesel was up $1.98, while low sulfur diesel gained $1.15. In foreign exchange trading, it took an average $158.64 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. That's 20 cents more than the week before. $1 Canadian cost an average $113 Jamaican. £1 cost $205.79 Jamaican, and you could buy €1 for $174.58 Jamaican on average. Finally, on the crypto markets, Bitcoin prices fell 8% over the past 5 days, trading at $75,776 on Monday. And Ethereum dropped 17%, trading at $1,477 on Monday. Market Recap was brought to you by My Money JA, the official data partner of Money Media. Started out now. Welcome back, Therese.
Hi, Kalilah. Are you hearing me?
I am hearing you, but we're still getting this feedback. Is somebody watching the show in the room?
No, I don't think so.
Not sure where the feedback is coming from them. I think we can try to bear with it though, because I can hear you. It's just that feedback is a little bit distracting. So let's start by telling us what a bond is and why should viewers consider that right now with what's going on in the market.
All right. So thank you for having us on tonight, Kalilah. No, I don't want to start off, Kalilah, without educating the public on who is Barita Investments Limited, right? It's very important that people understand who it is that they're potentially going to be investing in. So Barita is a publicly traded company on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. We have the distinction of being one of the oldest or one of the first stock brokerage firms in Jamaica. And it was formed by a woman in 1977, and we're a full service investment banking firm. Now, we would have come to the market right now. And what is a bond? Putting it very, 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 very simply, a bond is a loan to us and it's a loan to the issuer. So essentially what it is that you're doing, you're helping the company, and in this case, you're helping Barita to achieve its strategic imperatives through lending them money, and you in turn will benefit, right? So you will benefit from interest payments that you will gain over the period of time, whether you're going to be investing in the 2-year or the 10-year tranche. You're going to be earning money. And while you're doing that, you're helping the company to achieve its strategic imperatives, which then in turn will help you to benefit from the interest that you'll be earning.
Perfect. All right. So you get to lend Barita money, or we get to lend you over at Barita money.
Yes. And not just lend us the money. Yeah. Help us to grow, and in turn help you to benefit from the interest.
You have 7 tranches, which is quite a lot. Tell us, what are tranches and what are the terms of these tranches?
Okay, so putting it very simply again, we want to ensure that investors understand, right? So a tranche is like, for example, when you go to a restaurant and you're hungry, you want food, right? And the investment options are food, right? Now, when the waiter goes and gives you a menu, or if you see a menu board, the menu board are the tranches. They are the options that are made available to you for you to potentially invest in, right? So it's pretty much a very similar term to options that will give you an opportunity to choose which one is most suitable for you, the investor. So we have tranches, we have a 2-year, we have two 2-year tranches in both the US and Jamaican currency. And in addition to that, we have 2, 3, 5, 7, and 10-year tranches in Jamaican currency, right? And what that is doing is giving you the option to choose what is your own investment goal, and determining and using that to help you to make that right investment decision.
So walk us through these tranches. I see they're on the screen now.
Yes, they're on the screen now. So I'm going to walk you through the tranches, or Kalilah, the options, right? The options that are available to you. So option 1, and that is the first one, which is all right, this is tranche 2 on the screen. This is the tranche 2, option 2, and this is a US dollar option, and this is up to $5.5 million, and we have the option to upsize. This is a 3-year option, and the coupon rate is very attractive, Kalilah. It is at 7.5%. The first tranche or the first option, this again is up to 5.5, and we'll have the option to upsize. That means if it is that we get investors who are interested and want to participate beyond the 5.5, we can go up to the $8.5 million mark. Now, this is a 2-year tranche, and the coupon rate or the interest rate that you will earn every quarter is 7%. Now, option 3, it's a Jamaican dollar tranche. So I don't know if you want to move to option 3, right? So this is a Jamaican dollar option, and this is up to 450 Jamaican dollars. And this is a very attractive rate at 7.5%, and it's a 2-year option. Option 4, this is again $450 million, right? And we have the option to upsize to $700 million. The tenure is 3 years, and the coupon or the interest rate is 10%. Very attractive. You're not seeing some of these rates right now in the market, so these are very attractive options. Option 5, this is a 5-year option, again up to 450 million. This is for 5 years, and the coupon is 10.5% per annum. Option 6, it's a 7-year option, again 450 million. So you have the opportunity to invest up to 450 million in this, and the coupon rate is 10.75%. And option 7, this is the final option, right? And this is a 10-year option. And typically you find that your institutional investors, your pension funds want to invest, or if it is that you have some long-term goals, you can invest in this option where it is that you can do up to 450 million, again with options to upsize. And the rate is very attractive, shy of 11% at 10.9%. And so those are the options, and this is the menu, right, of investment opportunities that are geared towards any investor. So whether it is that you're just starting out on your investment journey, if it is that you are a seasoned investor, if it is that you are an institutional investor or a pension fund, based on all of the options, we have US dollar options and we have Jamaican dollar options. There, I believe there's something there for everybody.
Is best suited for me?
What option is best suited for you?
How would I know what option is best suited for me?
Okay, and that's a very good question, Kalilah. So it really depends on your individual goals as an investor, right? And the truth of the matter is that you may have goals. Let's say, for example, you know, you're going to retire, or you're investing to retire, or if it is that you're going to be investing to purchase a house, if it is that you're investing, you know, for your children's education, or if it is that you're investing, you know, for school for yourself, or any, you know, any goal at all that you may have for yourself, any type of asset acquisition, that's what is going to help you to determine which is the most appropriate based on the tenure and the currency. And it is also very important that you also speak to your own investment advisor, and you can reach out to us at Barita Investments Limited. And what we will do, we will help you to plan and put together that investment roadmap, that wealth map, that will guide you in terms of what are some of the options out there that you need to take upon, or you need to embark upon, to ensure that you're making that right investment decision. So it really depends on your own personal goals. So Kalilah, your goals might be different from mine, and therefore, let's say, for example, I'm saving towards my daughter's college education. She's going to college in about 2 years. So what is it that I'm trying to, you know, put together for her I'm trying to invest for her education. So I might look at the 2-year or the 3-year option, right? And she might want to go to the States. So I may want to look at the US dollar option. And that is something that, you know, we believe is a very attractive offer, and it will really and truly enhance everybody's wealth building journey.
How often do you pay interest?
Interest is paid quarterly up to maturity. And when we say maturity, that's when it is the bond itself. And remember that the bond is a capital preservation tool, so principal will be paid at maturity. So all interest payments will be made quarterly, and that's every 90 days.
And what's the minimum investment?
So the minimum investment is just 500 US dollars or 50,000 Jamaican dollars, right? We would have listened to the market. We would have done a significant amount of market reads out there, and we would have listened to how it is and what it is are some of the strategic imperatives or goals that anybody starting out their investment journey wanted, right? And we took that into consideration. That's why it is that, we have the 7 tranches, and that's why it is that we made it very affordable, at $500 and 50,000 Jamaican dollars. This is something for you to start or, help to accelerate your own wealth building journey. So yes, I think that's attractive.
Question from the audience. Kamisia wants to know, can a person invest in more than one tranche, say one USD and one JMD?
Yes. And we encourage it, right? Dependent on your own personal goals, you definitely can, partake in both or all of the tranches. So if it is that you are looking to fully diversify your investment portfolio and you're looking for Jamaican dollar options, or you're looking for Jamaican dollar options and US dollar options, if it is that you want, you can invest in all of the tranches, all of the 7 tranches, dependent on your own personal wealth building goals.
Nice. Warrell wants to know, when is the bond offer closing?
Okay, so the bond offer opened on March 28th. So it's open right now, and it closes on, or slated to close on May 26, 2025. But the truth of the matter is that we have been going on a educational campaign. We have been talking to the market. We have been talking to investors, we have been talking to the public, and a big part of what we have been doing at Barita is a lot of education, right? And this is financial literacy, just like what you're doing, Kalilah. We are trying to democratize wealth, and there has been a significant amount of interest. So what it is that I'm trying to tell the public is that at this point in time, please go to our website, go to the Jamaica Stock Exchange website, download the prospectus, have a conversation with your investment advisor, preferably your Barita investment advisor, and come out early, ask the questions, and invest early, because based on where we are, the traction has been good. People are interested, so we may close before May 26, 2025.
Don't watch the close date. May 26th, technically you have a little time, but don't watch the close date because Barita is heavy on the marketing. Philip wants to know, what you gonna do with all that cash?
That's a good, that's a good question, Philip. And this is something that we pride ourselves on, that we are big on, and I'm putting it very simply, Philip, we are going to be essentially expanding the business, right? So when you read the prospectus, you're going to be seeing that we're going to be using a small amount to refinance some of our debts, and that's just 2%. Right, so 98% of that is essentially to help us, especially on the investment banking side of things, right? We have a robust pipeline of opportunities, so it creates or gives us some amount of dry powder. It helps us as well, to acquire, some assets out there that we want to acquire, and it's really just helping us to grow the business as we expand. And what we have been telling you over the years, that we're here to democratize wealth, and in order for us to create those wealth building opportunities, this is one of the reasons why we're doing that. In addition to that, you would have seen our financials, and we are big on ensuring that we have strong liquidity and capital in place, and this will also help to bolster that position that we already have as a business.
And finally, Therese, is this a relatively safe investment? Like, what would you say to people who are hesitant about investing right now with Barita or in bonds, or just hesitant for whatever reason?
Yeah, so Kalilah, that's an excellent question, right? And the truth of the matter is that everybody is on their own wealth building journey, and it is important that we understand and we take the concerns into consideration. The Barita bond itself, so Barita, and the reason why I started out with identifying who we are and what it is that we do, is that we have been around for several years, and over the years since the acquisition by Cornerstone in 2018, the company has transformed itself, right? And it has transformed itself for the better. Now, we would have put in place a significant amount of, I would say, strictures as it relates to putting a significant amount of emphasis on risk management within the organization, ensuring that we would have bolstered our capital. We would have ensured that we invested heavily in the human capital in the business, right? The human capital is what drives the business, helps us to see some of the opportunities that are out there. Now, in addition to that, the financial performance over the years, now focusing on risk management, focusing on having proper governance, especially now, Kalilah, we can't hide from it, right? It's very important that we understand the environment in which we operate. We ensure that, you know, we're very focused on ensuring that we have strong risk management in place. In addition to that, we are here, and I'm here talking about Barita Investments Limited. And it's also very important that, yes, I'm talking about Barita. I work at Barita, but what we would have done is to get an independent assessment, and people might be familiar with Moody's and also be familiar with S&P. Now we have our own regional credit rating agency, which is CARICRIS, and CARICRIS would have come in, and in January 2025 they would have issued Barita with an investment grade credit rating and A+ CARICRIS rating, and that is one of the fundamental. Yes, and that's one of the fundamental reasons why. So it's not us saying it about ourselves, it's somebody else independent. They would have come in, they would have done their own independent assessment on the qualitative and quantitative factors that help to drive the business. And they would have come upon and indicated that based on the strong focus on risk management, governance, the strong financial performance, the outlook in terms of how it is that we are anticipated to perform, and all of those things, the human capital, obviously, we are a strong entity. We have an A+ rating. And because of that, we believe that it is very important that, investors take the time to read the prospectus, come and talk to us, or we can come to you and you can get information about the bond. Now, it's very important. I'm seeing some of the comments in your chat, and we're not telling you that you must not invest in stocks, right? That's not what we're saying. The Barita bond provides an excellent and attractive investment opportunity for you to diversify your portfolio, right? So if it is that you're focused on capital preservation, investing in an A+ entity like Barita will help you to get there, right? So you can diversify your portfolio, invest in the dip, right? But there's some amount of uncertainty. We just spoke about it with Trump and the tariffs, right? This is something that is critical. There's a lot of uncertainty. We're not sure how it is that, it will impact us from an importing perspective, Kalilah, right? A lot of the goods and services which you mentioned in the previous section of the program, we import a lot. There are some opportunities there. There are opportunities for us to galvanize and develop the relationship with our counterparts outside of the US. Right, there are also opportunities there for us to explore, how it is that, we export bauxite and other things like that. How will we stack up against other partners there? But there's also some amount of uncertainty as it relates to tourism. How will it impact remittance flows and things like that, that can have a devastating impact on us as Jamaicans, in the investing community and the wider public. So it's very important that, especially in the times of uncertainty, that you diversify your portfolio. And we believe that the Barita bond is a right fit, and it came at the right time for you to come now and invest, have the conversations, and invest in a strong company with robust financial performance, strong liquidity, lowly leveraged. And, we have strictures in place for good governance. And of course, we have a sound and knowledgeable team, right? The human capital. So it doesn't get better than that, Kalilah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Therese. So how can people participate in this offer?
Okay, right. And that's so important, right? So you can visit our website, www.barita.com/bond, and there you'll be able to download the prospectus and fill out the application form. It's very easy. If it is that you need any help, you can reach out to your Barita advisors, as we are the lead brokers on the transaction. In addition to that, we have our selling agents, right? And we can't do it without the support of the market. And we're glad to have JN Fund Managers as our partner. We have VM Wealth Management. We have Scotia Investments, We have Jamaica Money Market Brokers, we have FHC, and we also have Proven Wealth as our selling partners. So, please feel free, educate yourself. If you're shy, come and talk to us, call us. We'll talk to you. And, as we said before, Kalilah, a big part of what it is that we do at Barita, we are here to democratize wealth. And that means to make wealth accessible to everybody. And how we're doing that, we're doing it through this offer. This is an attractive offer. There are 7 tranches, and it gives everybody anywhere along their investment journey, whether it is that you are a small investor just starting out, an experienced investor, whether it is that you're a corporate entity or a pension fund, there is an option there for you.
Thanks again, Therese. All the best with the offer.
And Kalilah, before you go, I think this is so important, right? Normally, people invest in bonds, but one of the big selling points as it relates to this bond is that it will be listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And normally bonds, they're not very liquid, right? Especially the private bonds, they're not very liquid, right? They're tightly held, and therefore you can't trade it. So a big part of why it is that, we are doing this as well. We're making it public so that you can actually trade the bond on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, right? So it's a public bond, and it will be traded on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So it makes it easy. So let's say, for example, you wanted to invest in a 10-year option, but something came up and you need some liquidity, you need the funds that you would have invested. You can always go to the market and trade the bond. So that is something very unique, and it's a good opportunity for persons wanting to invest.
Awesome. Thanks again, Therese. So we're gonna move into the analysts in just a few. But first, let me take some of your comments, because I see a lot of comments coming in on both the Trump issue and then this Barita bond. So let's see what you guys are saying. Sean says, buy the dip with what?
Market recap.
Sean, buy the dip with what? Lanesra says, but we have tariffs on American goods coming into Jamaica. Yes, we do. And some of them are very high as well. Lavaine says, I look at it as a tax being levied across the board by USA. It's quite sneaky, that's for sure. Learn, Grow, Invest says, the time to start investing is now. But then Sean said, with what money? Humble Boss says, building wealth from the bottom is hard. Lots of hills and valleys. Ain't that the truth? Ooh, speak it, brother. Small Axe says, good night from NYC. They need to impeach Trump again. These tariffs are ridiculous. We got Nicholas saying Trump is working on his 3rd term in office. I'm sure his next stop is to modify the Constitution to make it happen. You can't say he did nothing while in office. That is true. You can't say he didn't do anything, because he sure is doing a lot. Tavares says this approach will make BRICS stronger. And I saw some responses to that, people saying, BRICS has been fairly weak. Rasheen says, right now I'm just investing in some defensive stocks to ensure some consistency and stability to my portfolio in light of these chaotic and disruptive trade policies. All right, I'm going to leave it there for the comments for now, because there are many, but let's introduce our analyst panel.
The official data partner of Money Media. Not long ago, I asked how many of you would be willing to pay to watch Taking Stock. And a lot of you responded that you would pay, but some of you begged me to keep it free. And I get it. Everyone goes through financial challenges, and I want as many people to access this information as possible. So I've decided to give you the option to make a donation and help to keep Taking Stock free. Support us at patreon.com/moneymediaja.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analyst, is brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart. Disclaimer. This is not intended as financial advice. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Welcome back to Taking Stock. Time now for the analysts. And our analyst this evening is Clive Charlton, who is a senior trader at JMMB. Always a pleasure to have Clive. Clive is a fan favorite over these parts. Welcome back, Clive.
Thanks for having me again, Kalilah. It's always a pleasure to be on a program.
Right. So you have been closely watching the U.S. markets as well. given the Trump tariffs. What do you make of it all?
By now, Trump is no surprise. I mean, his actions, yes, it shakes and rattles everything, politically, economically. But by now, he's no surprise. But I think, they say that sometimes behind the madness, there is some, maybe not sense, but some rationale. And I think there is. I think he knows his constituents. Also, sometimes it's hard to change government. Once a country is set on a track, whether political or mostly economic track, it's difficult to change it. You have to do it gradually over time. And there's a lot of political back and forth and discussion, Congress, etc., that it must go through. And sometimes through the court system. And I think Trump is just using as much executive order as he can, as rash as he's able to do. So ultimately, once some of these changes are filtered into the system, it's difficult to make a 100% or 180-degree turnaround. Something, some residual effect. Law, something becomes law, something remains, and then he would have initiated a particular change in our track, the country to be on a track. And ultimately what he wants, he says, is to make the American economy stronger, to bring back jobs, as well as to better reduce the budget, the fiscal side of the US economy. So that's his intention. It's extreme, it's radical, it's difficult to support that. It's going to be significant short-term shock to the economy, the global economy, not just the domestic, or those economy that feeds directly off it, like small Caribbean and Latin American economies, but the global economy. That's the way he operates. It's interesting though, can the American people, tolerate it? That is a big question.
Yeah, and for how long is the other question as well. So earlier we had Saint on who was saying that the intention is for the shock to be short term and eventually things will level off. But have you observed anything about the Jamaican markets, like Jamaican investors' appetite since these announcements were made?
I have not seen, it's very short time as yet, as the Prime Minister stated earlier. Trump, wide swipe, if that's the term, these tariffs upon 100 and something plus countries that they trade with, including very small economies, including economies that they have a favorable balance of payment trade surplus with including Jamaica. However, we're part of another agreement, the CBI, particularly the Caribbean Basin Initiative. So we really have to see if that will be subsumed under the executive orders or there are exceptions. So there's more to come, really. The finer parts need to be ironed out. And it is up to our foreign ministry, the trade and industry minister and ministry to really push for that clarity with the US counterparts, right? How successful, we're not sure. But I have not seen any significant adjustment from what I'm seeing in my near surroundings, but I'd expect, though, sensibly that we'll begin to make plans. I saw or read on the news just recently where the Prime Minister was asking our productive sectors to seek alternative market and make adjustment that they believe is beneficial to their company, their industry, and the broader economy. And we have to think out of the box now. I think I've always said it in this room, in this office, at this space, that we have built a dependency on the United States of America, and they are a good trading partner. Many Jamaicans or diaspora there, Caribbean, Jamaican, etc. Yes, remittance comes back from there, but we have shifted from England and shifted to the US and built a dependency that has not really worked out very well for us over the last 20, 30, 40 or so years. But this is shock therapy, and hopefully it will push us. What the US is doing, as Trump has said, is the short-term sickness that they must bear for the long-term health of the American economy. We now must think the same way. I think we don't
want... The bitter medicine. This is Trump's version of bitter medicine.
Exactly. And we don't want the bitter medicine, but we have to think in that terms. We have to. So we really have to begin to diversify economy, diversify our trade, diversify everything that we do in order to at least become long-term sustainable and not so heavily dependent on a particular economy.
Why did you say earlier, Clive, that this dependency on the US for our exports has not worked in our favor?
Easily, we say, let's look at tourism. They can have a, what is that announcement called? about violence in any country, whether it is so or not.
The
Travel advisory.
yes.
That has impacted our tourism sector. Right? In his first term, he spoke heavily about cutting, eliminating, or taxing remittances. That can impact our inflow of FX, which largely we don't get as we get more FX, hard currency, from remittance than we do from tourism. Good. We can look at even trade deals and agreement that we sign. Many times within a few years or so, technology changes, taste changes, especially in a large dynamic economy like the US that competes all across the globe, where people have alternative choice. Quickly or easily we sign a trade deal. We're no longer relevant in 4 or 5 years. You see? So we have to think in terms of this when we're structuring deals with these larger metropole. We should, really. We're a small economy, yes. And maybe we really need to look at building our domestic consumption, improve the quality of life in Jamaica, pay better so people can consume better. And one step we have made over the last several years, which is good. I think we have built up a really good capital market. We have one of the best, better structured capital market when compared to the whole Caribbean and Latin America. We're far more developed in terms of our regulatory practice, the institutions, the product base, the diversity among the different financial institutions when compared to many Latin American countries. So we have done well in that sphere, you see. And I see another move now where the government, rather than sell state-owned entities to private sectors or private entities, they are now putting these to the market where there's a lot of liquidity. You can see from these offers in the market recent, the heavy oversubscription we've seen. There's capital in this, and people are looking for places to put their money. So I think that's a good idea. So we have begun, yes, at least in the financial sphere. So we need to move to the more productive, the trading, the manufacturing, etc. And look inward towards the Caribbean and Latin America. We need to do that.
Well, I was just about to ask, because if not the United States, if we need to reduce our dependency on the United States, who do we turn to? Because they're the superpower, they're the regional power, they have the buying potential, the disposable income. If not them, then who?
They do, yes. I mean, they have the technology, they're the innovators. The lifestyle we enjoy here, yes, is heavily dependent on them. That's where we get ideas from, creativity, etc. Yes, we're creative, but we get something from there and we can trade there. But over the long term, over the short, medium to long term, the imbalance is significant. We are always on our pins and needle when there's a change in government. Trump has really shown us, the Caribbean and the world, that maybe we're going to have this type of leadership changes in the US, where one that is calm, accommodating, willing to negotiate, and one that is quite drastic. This might be the beginning. The American electorate is showing us now, ever since the election of Obama, that there's something else to them, and they will vote in the extreme if they believe it needs be. But all in all, though, the US is a partner, and a good partner, has been a supporting partner. But we simply need to diversify. Like any business entity, like anyone who's earning income, like we advise in portfolio management and structuring, you need to diversify. I'm looking at the docket this in today's newspaper. Let's see if my camera can catch this. Not today, sorry, Friday, Financial Gleaner, April 4. It's published in the Observer too. Look at the trade balances. 64% of our import comes from the United States, and over 51% of our export goes to the United States. We're heavily dependent on them, and we just need to diversify, really. Maybe that could help our dollar. Maybe this dependence on one currency also is one of the reasons why the dollar is consistently depreciating against its major trading partner. You see? And our lives, does it get any easier? No. Over the years, yes, we have far more product availability of product. We can expand tourism, but where's the expansion coming from? We're too dependent on one particular economy.
Sean has a question for you. Sean wants to know, do you think this scare could cause investors to move their money from the US stock market to other markets? And if so, do you think Jamaica's stock market could catch some attention?
To be honest with you, over the years, we have seen the Jamaican stock market cannot compare to the US at all in any way, fashion, or form. To be honest with you, yes. For us, it's a beginning for us. We need to develop that capital market. Do we have the size? No. Do we have the depth? No. Which is the liquidity? No, we don't. Do we have the stable currency? No. One of the significant mitigating, I've spoken here. You know, we have dealt with the diaspora who wants to invest in our market, and several of them have converted and bought securities here. And over the years, just through the valuation alone, our market is more fickle than the US in the sense that we can go into long, deep trough and takes 2 to 3 years to come out. We have not experienced that for the last since about 2014, which is good because fiscal conditions and monetary control is well established now. So we have not experienced that. But previously, we'd gone to this 3 to 4 year trough, right? And during that time, the dollar is devaluing and they have lost. So I clearly remember particular investors who hurriedly sold their securities that they had here, converted back to US and went back to the US market. But and the US is interconnected also. So I don't think that ours can compare and generate the type of return, medium or long-term return that the US can. But we begin somewhere. We must structure ours somewhere. And we need to build the resilience in our economy. The US also, importantly, no matter what happens in the US, it really is the, what should I say, the economy of last resort. You know, that is where the flight to safety, you know. So no matter what is happening in the US right now, the short-term, you know, what should I say, it is causing a lot of chaos in the short term, but ultimately you'll find that global capital filters right back to the US because one, it has resilience. It can bounce back. They are very creative. They're innovators. You know, they're interconnected more globally with other economies than us. They can negotiate with larger economies. We don't have that space at all. So really and truly, the US economy is still strong, resilient, more so than nearly all of the economies on the globe.
I don't know, Clive. It's looking like China. In the past 15 years, the advances that China has made in their economy, in technology, in AI. You see what DeepSeek came out and mash up ChatGPT and their valuation. We see BYD becoming a major player in the electric car space. Just so many innovations and developments. And we're learning now that it has been the result of a deliberate policy set 15 years ago.
A deliberate policy set from the revolution, 1959 revolution. It's about discipline. It's about suffering. It's not about this generation. It's about the future generation. If we put our mind set in the same direction, we can achieve it too. I think Jamaica, corruption, we will sell out our family to get $1 to put in our pocket today. You see? And until we change the mindset, we won't be anywhere near where China is. But it's a deliberate action, yes, not just in the last 15 years. They are creative. Look forward to China in the next 20, 30 years. Look forward to BRICS in the next, I say 15 to 20 years. And I say 15, giving a little extended time because the world, I think, realizes that we have built upon the institutions of Western Europe, whether it's the trading system, the financial system, the regulatory system. We have built upon this rather than recreate the wheel. But I think now some people are realizing that, hey, let's just start creating a wheel from now, that it will roll slowly, but it will gather momentum down the road. And I think that is where the world is. I don't think it's, the intention is to exclude anyone, but it is really to find an alternative that other economies can operate with a sense of transparency and equality, you know. And I think that is where it is. So yes, China in the next several years, we expect them on other economies, no doubt, yeah. But as it is now, really and truly, the United States is the, it is the place where capital will feed through to, because it is the strongest economy, the more resilient economy on the globe. It still is, really. China is there, yes, but the US really is.
I'm going to take this last one from Joe Hero. If Jamaica lowered customs in industries where we simply have no competition on, like technology, that could possibly help our economy, allowing startups and locals to access to further their business, their own business. Do you agree with that, Clive?
Yes, that makes sense. True. I believe though, and this is just I've said this several times, thrown it off on a couple of co-workers, but I think data, numbers don't lie. When they put numbers together, the facts, they don't lie. But if we had the data in the first place, in order to crunch the numbers, that would set us a far way ahead. I wonder sometimes when someone jumps into a business, do they have the numbers to back their entry into that business? Do they have the numbers to determine what their cost structure will be like? Do they have the numbers to make a projection into the future so they can properly plan? You know, I think a lot has been done on the fiscal and monetary side to put some stability in the local economy and gives us some space to breathe and to create. Yes, we have seen it over the last several years in all spheres of, sectors of the economy. But I think data is missing. I think we're really, PIOJ and timeliness of data too, but we need raw, simple, basic data. Who's on that street? Who sells on that street? The small people, the people who buy and sell on the street. Can we create a space on the street and force them to keep it clean and keep it within a certain limits? Because we can't have, and allow them to sell on the street. Can we create a clean, like we did attempted in Hertfordshire, I would say, with digital, we saw that thing in the park. I don't know if the park should be used for that purpose, but we are going to have more of these people who are generating income for themselves and their family. They're not employed to any organization. Can we create facilities for them? For example, we had the thing of hygiene, Hero Circle, a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. Can we create a technology where these people are able to practice proper hygiene? We see people in IT making waves in Jamaica.
For that? Do you really need technology to practice proper hygiene?
No, what I'm saying, can we, the man who has his cart and his cane, the lady who has a little cart and sell food, can we create something, some little pressurized bucket with a water? Inspector goes around, it has some type of soap, some type of water that forces her or encourages her or he to wash his hands every now and then. Some simple, basic mechanical device that would allow them to build some trust, in this particular industry, which is a growing industry in Jamaica. It's a fallback for many people, either taxi or people buy and sell things, or people cook food. These always sell on the street. How do we make it better? So I think if I start from the very basic level with the basic information, the basic data to crunch the numbers and some simple basic technology, I think we can go a far way.
Well, Clive, your fan club is active because Robert says that you need your own YouTube page.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should. But I enjoy coming on your program. You're doing a good job so far.
Thanks. And we enjoy having you. Always appreciated. Thanks so much, Clive.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
We'll take our final break and come back with more of your comments.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
12 months. That's all it takes to transform your finances with Money Mission Premium. For the next year, I'll guide you on the process to take your finances to the next level. You'll get my premium courses, monthly mentorship, and a great community of peers to help you on your journey. Go to moneymissionja.com. Let's get this money. Welcome back. Let's take some final comments from the chat. Sean says, we can't keep buying the dip, man. The dip needs to give back. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. When you dip, I buy. Ryan says, Warren Buffett are the boss. Invest in valuable companies. Camicia says, diversify, diversify, diversify. We have Levine who says, I fully agree with you. The same way U.S. is thinking of themselves, so should we. Roswell says, Clive, that's the same thought I had. Pay persons so that they can buy more products of local manufacturers, and we won't need to worry so much about exports. Mario says, invest in people. Excellent, Clive. On Roswell's point too, not worrying so much about exports, I think we also need to invest in developing products that have global appeal, products and services that are well, yeah, exportable, but that people would come here to buy. So that's another way to look at it as well, because our population is relatively small. And so there's only so much you can scale and sell to people in Jamaica. If you really want to explode that growth, you are going to have to seek out markets outside of Jamaica. Colton says the US is an empire on the decline. Trump's tariffs is a sign of desperation. Natisha over on Facebook says Africa is beginning to boom. What kind of relationship should we be pursuing with Africa? Great point, Natisha. Michael says, I'm referring to BRICS. If the Caribbean can't unite, how BRICS are going to work? I saw some comments about BRICS earlier as well, saying there's a lot of infighting going on. I haven't been following it as closely as I did in the past. I don't really know what's going on. Philip says, USA ain't going down just so, guys. Chill. So Philip doesn't believe you have much to worry about. Let me see what else we have. I saw there's a whole heap of comments here. I haven't been able to read all of them. Let's see. Mario said Andrew should see why it's necessary to pay teachers and health sector workers over politicians. Roswell commenting on QWI's portfolio, which she says will get hit hard because they have US stocks. Tavares mentioning a lot of countries will see to either build other relationships and or be more self-sufficient. Nigel saying uncertainty leads to downturn in investment. Roswell, I like to see stock buy up high, then gradually comes down. I will start drinking lemonade at that point. Nice. Roswell, you got jokes. And she also pointed out that it's important to know the quality of the bond, not just the grade, referring to the Barita bond. Lots of people don't know how bonds work, just knowing that they will get a percentage, right? And so she did address that at the end, saying that Barita did get that investment grade rating from Caracris earlier this year. And we had them on earlier talking about it as well. Ryan wants to know what's going on with Tropical Battery. The share price has been dropping steadily and might go below $2 tomorrow. What was the announcement I saw from Tropical Battery recently? They're moving to the main market, I believe. They are preparing for a move to the main market. Why that has impacted the stock price in this way, I'm not sure. Have to ask David. Next week, David will probably be on. David always know, right? David is the go-to person for that stuff. I see a lot of speculation about what is going to happen to NCB and is it going to be sold and who's potentially going to buy it. But yeah, that's all very speculative right now. So we'll leave that there. And some people were asking questions about Barita and what they're going to be investing in, what their pipeline is looking for, and so on. Javon wanted to know, why should one invest in a bond right now when there are greater opportunities in stock? So it's all about the type of investor you are. If you're looking for a more conservative investment, because one thing that we are seeing right now in stock, yes, there are opportunities, but stocks are volatile. So right now, the market, your heart have to strong if you're going to be in it. I saw somebody commenting on crypto as well. Pre-election, remember Bitcoin hit 100,000 and now they're back down to 70 something thousand in just a couple of months. So crypto volatile, stocks volatile. The thing with bonds is that at least it is consistent and stable. And with the Barita bond, you have the option to go up to, is it 7 years? I think is the longest one. So you have that stability for 7 years. So yeah, all depends on how much risk you want to take, what your risk appetite is, the type of investor you are, and the type of returns that you are looking to seek, and within what time period as well. There's something for everybody, opportunity for everybody in this market. You just have to know where the opportunities are, and that's why you watch this show. And it is my pleasure to serve you every single week. That's going to do it for us for tonight, April, what day is today? The 8th, April 8th. Appreciate your presence. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks to our hardworking production team. Thanks to our guests, St. Billings. We had Barita on, and we also had Clive from JMMB. Always a pleasure to serve you. And of course, tell a friend that investing is the new sexy. So let's make it cool to talk about money. Like the video, guys. Share with a friend. Subscribe to the newsletter at getmoneynews.com. I'll see you again next week.